And welcome to another show of Quiz Time. I am your host, Grace Franklin. Let's meet today constant. Here we have Joseph Wilson, Harry Adolf, and George Clement. Today we will quizzing them on their story of the knowledge of last decade. Let's start with the first category. Okay, Conference of the Allies Leaders. Whoever knows the answer to the questions I am about to ask has to press the button. Okay, let's start. When did the Yalta Conference take place?
February 1945.
That's correct! Next question. Who has replaced halfway from the Postal Conference and by whom?
Britain's Prime Minister Churchill, and he was replaced by the new Minister Attlee.
Correct! Let's start with the next question. Name 3 of the agreements in Yalta Conference.
First, Stalin agreed to enter the war against Japan once Germany is surrounded. Second, they agreed Germany would be divided in 4 zones: American, British, Soviet, and French. And third, they agreed they would join the United Nations organizations.
That is right! Let's see question number 4. Name 3 of the main changes that happened after the Yalta that affect really relationships between the leaders.
The Stalin armies were occupying most of Eastern Europe. 2. America had a new president. 3. The Americans had tested a new atomic bomb.
Correct! Now whoever answered these questions gets 20 points. Why was the Yalta Conference creative?
It was created so that the Allied leaders could plan what would happen with Europe after Germany's defeat.
Your answer is correct! Let's see the table. Harry, 10. George, 20. And Joseph, 30. Okay, let's see. George is winning. Let's move on the next category. Stalin takeover of Eastern Europe. The first question is, what name did Churchill give to the border between Soviet controlled countries and the West?
Was it Silver One?
I am afraid of your answer. The answer correct, it is the Iron Curtain. But you are winning, so I will give you a chance to win back the points that you have lost. You have to explain this meme. You have 60 seconds to explain it.
So, in 1944 and in 1945, the Red Army drove across Eastern Europe in its fight against the Nazis. After the war, Stalin was determined that the USSR would control Eastern Europe. That way, Germany or any other state would not be able to use these countries, like Hungary or Poland, as a staging post to invade. These Eastern European countries saw Stalin's actions as him liberating them, but in reality, he just used them to expand communism and force them into communist governments.
That is right. Well done. You have back 10 points. Let's move to next question. Question 3. What was the Cominform and who was expelled from it?
Cominform was an organization created by Stalin to coordinate the communist parties of Eastern Europe. Marshal Tito was expelled from it for not wanting to be controlled by Cominform.
Excellent! Here is the next question. How did Stalin and Truman see the Soviet takeover of Eastern Europe?
Stalin saw it as a spur of influence to make himself secure of the threats to the Soviet Union, but Truman saw it as a spur of communism.
Correct! This is last question of this category. Name all the countries under the communist control between the years of 1945 and 1948.
Poland, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Yugoslavia, Bulgaria, Albania, and well, obviously the USSR.
That is right, you win 20 points. Let's take a look at the soccer of the table. Joseph 30, Harry 40, and George 30. Harry is winning now. But the game isn't over. Let's move to our category, Truman Doctrine. What was the USA president's policy of containment about?
With this policy, he aimed to stop communism from spreading any further.
Yes, he did. Question number 2. Who did Truman to send access the economy state of Europe?
His foreign minister, I guess.
I'm afraid of your answer. That is wrong. He sent American Marshal George. Harry, you got 10 points, but you can't win. Question number 3. How was Europe conditioned post-war?
Europe was ruined. There were shortages of all goods, damages caused by the war to the roads and bridges, many homeless people are refuseless, and they owed the USA $11.5 billion.
That is right. Question number 4. Why did the American Congress end up rating the money for martial aid if at first he didn't want to?
They changed their mind when the communists took over Czechoslovakia and started purging anti-Soviet leaders, including a pro-American one.
That is correct. Now for the last question of this category. How did Stalin feel about the martial aid?
Stalin thought that the communism aimed behind martial aid would weaken his hold to Eastern Europe. And also he felt the USA was trying to dominate as many states as possible by making dependent of dollars.
Yes, that is right. Let's check the soccer of the table. Joseph 50, Harry 40, George 50. Wow, it seems like Joseph and George are tied. Let's move to the last category of the game and see who will be the winner. The following is about the Berlin blockade. What is this an interesting topic? Here is the question. Which was the main reason for Stalin to make the blockade?
Stalin thought that by cutting off supply lines, the Allies would be forced to leave Berlin and make it dependent of the USSR.
You're correct. Next question. How much were the zones divided?
The zones were divided into 4 zones. One was British, one was Soviet, the other one was French, and the last one was American.
That is right. Let's move to another question. List of the consequences of Berlin blockade.
The division of Germany into 2 nations. Berlin was a symbol of freedom to the Americans and as a threat for the USSR. And the burden of how Cold War confrontations were, that no one was willing to go into a war, and how suspicious each power was from each other.
That is right. Another point of George. Let's move on. Question 4. How far were the Allies' airlift supplies methods successful?
It was a total success. It showed Stalin that the Western Allies were not going to give up, and also it made life possible on West Berlin.
That is right, Harry. Let's look to the table. Joseph 60, Harry 60, and George 60. It seems like you are all tied. Now, to see who is the winner, I will give you a wild card and you have to explain the measure and the purpose. Good luck. Time for a wild card!
The purpose of this cartoon is to criticize Truman because of all the money he was spending on martial aid, which is also the meaning behind this cartoon. Truman was using all of America's money on helping the European countries, when he was forgetting about helping his own country.
Congratulations, Joseph! That is correct! You are the winner!